And today we're going to be reviewing a video of Metaphysics Mind. Chill out, guys. Chill out. And it's not that big of a deal. We're going to be reviewing Metaphysic Mike. I guess Chicken Mike. I guess they want me to call him Chicken Mike. He actually said something I kind of agree with, which was weird. It makes me uncomfortable to agree with him. I don't like it. But I feel like I am kind of obligated to here. Let's see.
Imagine Jesus dying for his enemies, just for his so-called followers to punch theirs in the face and still be bragging about it thousands of years later like that's somehow a flex.
Okay. I'm going to be honest. I kind of brag about it a little bit. Like, yes, it's great because I think we've all met a heretic we want to punch. But, like, if there's anything we should hit him one over, it's like trying to lead souls to hell. But I'm not saying we should.
First of all, I'm not one to talk. I'm wearing a hat, but what is going on with this hat right now?
I don't know, but like I'm not gonna like punch him in the face. But that's a pretty punchable face, am I right?
There is some punchworthiness. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, do those eyes not say I've smoked a lot of meth?
It's very, very possible. Yeah, I'm not as maybe not as experienced as you are in that. I don't know.
Trust me, I know.
Oh no. So he's talking about Saint Nick, slapping Arius. Maybe would have been better to just slap metaphorically with the truth,
right?
But yeah. I mean, I think he makes a decent point there. He does kind of lose some dignity, I think, and some gravitas with kind of the I've just been skiing look, but we can look past that.
If you need violence, you're weak and lack self-control. But I'm a heretic, so maybe I'm wrong, and I should keep this in mind for my next debate. Cheers.
I agree that if you have to be violent to promote your beliefs, then you are weak. I also believe there are times to be violent. Mm-hmm. I don't think in a theological disagreement, even if they're heretics, it's time to be violent. However, I will metaphorically smack him in the mouth, bro. And that's why he's running from me. And that's why he's debating these other people who are threatening him. Mike, I ain't never threatened you, bro. I've just called you a chicken.
And he's a universalist, is that right?
No, he's a Unitarian, but not a Unitarian Universalist.
Okay, and maybe you can learn me something here, because I've not really been schooled on metaphysics, Mike, and that difference.
Basically, he believes that the Father is God and Jesus is simply a really good human being who was so good he could die on the cross for people's sins. Like he was the Messiah, but he was not God in any way, and he didn't pre-exist his birth. So off the top of your head, what verses refute that theology?
The fact that he's referred to constantly as being creator. The fact that in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Nothing was made without him.
Wow.
Some of those things come to mind just off the top of my head.
John 1, Colossians 1:16, maybe Titus 2:3 or 2:13 that says Jesus is God. Like it literally said, it's crazy. It literally
the same Greek word, theos in John 1, of God and was God, him, not was a God or some kind of lesser being. He does sound like he's teetering on Arianism. Or some kind of...
No. He won't even say that Jesus pre-existed. Arianism's better than what he says, which is insane. Yeah. At least the Jehovah's Witnesses think that Jesus pre-existed and was the first and greatest creation of Jehovah. Like this dude just thinks he was a human being just like us, and somehow he was
a really good one.
Yeah, really good one who somehow could die for the sins of the world.
Okay, gotcha. So he's somewhere between a Muslim and an Aryan, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
Because
I
he's
would
better
say
than just
so.
a prophet, but worse than being pre-existent.
Yeah. Either way, it's bad. Like, it's way down in there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're off in it really any way in your Christology, you're in big trouble. So that ultimately would make some fun, but it's sad
Yeah.
because Jesus is truly God.
You should have heard what he had to say about John 1:15. I'm going to pull it up, read this verse, and ask them, what does it mean? And they will completely poop their pants. John bore witness about him, the him there is Jesus, and cried out, this was he of whom I said, he who comes after me ranks before me because he was before me.
It's worth pointing out this is just verses after in the beginning was the Word was with God. So context, right?
Right, exactly. And it says, matter of fact, it says in 14, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. So it's letting us know that the Word is actually a person and not just some sort of thought. Like he'll say Jesus pre-existed notionally in God's mind, which is really, really dumb.
Yeah, fascinating.
But here's the thing that he says. He says that because he was before me just means he ranks before me. So he's making John's argument. This was he of whom I said, he who comes after me ranks before me because he ranks before me.
Which would be a weirdly redundant thing to say.
Right.
Yeah, which
it lacks explanatory power.
yeah.
You don't make an argument that way. And John the Baptist wasn't an idiot. He would not make that argument. His argument is Jesus ranks before me because he existed before me.
Yeah.
But John the Baptist was born first. So that means Jesus had to pre-exist. Like it just crushes them. That and John 17:5, dude. They can do nothing with it.
The glory I had with you before the world was created.
Yep. They're like, it's a notional glory. God was thinking about how Jesus is going to die on the cross.
Fascinating. Yeah. I mean, that definitely contradicts basically the entire thrust of the book of John. Before Abraham was, I am.
Wow.
And I think it's hard to argue that is a mere notional, because he's not saying God said I am or something, or like the Father loved me. It's saying I am. Before Abraham was, before he existed, before he was in the timeline, I am. I'm before him. So you see that multiple times in just that book. I'm shocked that someone would believe that Jesus is created and created after the world. Because I know some people, believe that he was a created being, that it was created before the world, which is still bad. But this is even going a step further. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's going a step further than Jehovah's Witnesses, which are already really bad. But this is one I love. So I looked and I heard and around the throne and the living creatures and the elders, the voice of many angels, numbering myriads and thousands of thousands, saying with a loud voice, worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and wealth and wisdom and might and honor and glory and blessing. And I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and in the sea and all that is in them, saying, to him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be
Lamb of
blessing
God.
and honor and glory and might forever and ever. So I would ask Mike, was the Lamb worshiping himself there?
Yeah, because if he's a creature, you're saying, not a creator, because that's the distinction we see in Scripture, right?
Right.
Is if he's a creature, that would mean he's worshiping the Lamb, and that's weird because you're worshiping yourself. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Exactly. He would have to. It says every creature, and so if Jesus, the Lamb, is a creature, then he'd be worshiping himself there, which is really, really stupid. But I mean, hey, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if this guy does have debates, maybe he would actually, because it sounds like he debates people that are actually more uncharitable than you are.
Yeah. Well,
So maybe he will.
I'll say this. The guy is brilliant.
Okay.
He's a freaking genius. If anyone could convince me of Unitarianism, it would be that guy. Not Del Tuggy. It would be that dude.
Gotcha.
Because he's really good at catching people.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, not going to convince me because I'm solely convinced that that's what the scriptures say. But he's a very good, crafty debater, and I would love to debate him. I just wanted to say something nice, and maybe I'll clip it and turn it into a short.
Sure. Yeah. So the reason he would be called a Unitarian is because he's just saying one Father.
He just thinks there's one God is one person.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Gotcha.
I don't know what he believes about the Holy Spirit, really. I haven't looked into that. I would assume that he thinks that the Holy Spirit is either like a force or it's just another word for the Father. I have no clue, bro.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I hope you guys can get to an actual debate where you guys both know the terms and could be a fruitful conversation. So,
yeah, it'll be great. So I got something else I want us to watch. This was by Cliffe Knechtel, I guess.
cliffhanger.
Cliffe Hanger.
You said no internal contradictions. How well do you know this book? I got this from your friend the other day. It's the Bible.
You can tell me when to stop.
Yeah.
She's claiming.
For all of you who don't know, I don't know which version it is. I don't know who's writing, who decided what to put it in here. John, we'll read John 1, 17, 18. Do you know this one? I'll read what it says here. It says, no one has ever seen God, but God is the one and only who is at the Father's side has made him known. Right here, it says, no one has ever seen God, okay? Mm-hmm. You believe that? You take that? You want to read it? That's your book. This is what you take.
You bet.
Right here, same chapter, John 5:19.
Right.
It says here, Jesus gave them this answer. I tell you the truth, the Son can do nothing by himself. He can do only what he sees his Father doing. No one sees, he only does what he sees. Internal contradiction. So then this book has internal contradictions. Can we agree on that? Oh, you don't say yes or no answers. What do you say?
So I do want to stop there because I think John 1:18 is a very, very powerful verse. And plus, I don't want YouTube to get on to me for letting stuff go too long. Mm-hmm. But I think that we need to use John 1:18 more often.
Fascinating. Yeah, so she said a whole lot there.
Yeah.
The verse that she's referring to, no one has seen God, only him. Okay, gotcha. I can pull that one up real quick.
All right, and maybe we could respond to it, then we'll let Cliff respond to it.
Okay. Perfect.
So while you're looking that up, it's no one has seen God at any time, but the only begotten God, or the unique and one of a kind God, who is at the Father's side, he has made him known. Only reason I know this because I'm writing a book on Christology right now.
Yeah,
that happens to be a verse that just I memorized. But anyways, then she says, John 5, I do what I see the Father doing. And she's like, see, well, someone's seen. But in context of John 1, it's saying no one has seen the Father at any time.
Yeah.
Because in John 1, it clearly in the preceding verses, it is referring to the Father as Theos, as God, and no one has seen the Father at any time. But Jesus, who is God in the flesh, makes him known. Why? Because he's always seen what the Father does, because he's God, like
truly God, truly divine.
So there's no real contradiction, and I think and the reason I say I think John 1:18 is very important is because when we look back in the Old Testament, God was seen multiple times. Jacob wrestled with God. God walked in the garden with Adam and Eve. God was in the burning bush with Moses. God came down and in Judges 13 and was seen and was worshipped. Well, if no one's seen the Father at any time, the only way that makes sense is if it was Jesus, which again completely refutes Chicken Mike's position.
Fascinating. Yeah, that's a good point. Those are all great points. It is a very important thing, I think, which, if you've only read John like once or however many times she's read it, I mean, biblical words in any text, but biblical words must be understood in light of the whole Bible, but also in light of the context in which they've written. We talked about this on another video the other night, I think. Like, so, if you just read those words on a surface level and did not take a lot of time to study, observe, interpret, apply, get help from other people, perhaps, maybe you could come to her conclusion on just a surface level reading if you're not distinguishing between how the word God is used, right? If you just speed through John chapter 1, for example, you could be all sorts of confused. But even just the first few verses of John 1, you can see, okay, I'm not some grand theologian here, but I see that there's a distinction being made between God and God in terms of, we would say, persons, as Trinitarians, right? But if you just read it on the surface, you might not understand that or know that. So I can see why she would believe that, but it's not true, because we see a distinction in the New Testament language and in John particularly of sometimes God refers to the person of the Father. Sometimes, like in John 1, with God, Father, was truly God. The Word, the Son of God, was truly God. So all I'm saying is context matters, how words are used. It's like the word all in the New Testament. Sometimes all means the entirety of mankind. Sometimes it's meaning a representation of a large amount of people. So we have to really make sure we understand that kind of a thing before we just jump to these massive conclusions.
Absolutely. And I would encourage her to read her own book. Like, I don't even think that, I mean, I'm guessing she's in Islam. She's a Muslim.
I think so.
I love calling them Islams. She's in Islam. She's a 9/11 Islam. But I would encourage her, maybe she should read Surah 1094. If Allah is supposedly speaking to Muhammad and says, if you, O prophet, are in doubt about these stories, what was revealed in the Quran, that we have revealed to you, then ask those who read the scriptures before you. Mm-hmm. The truth has certainly come to you from your Lord, so do not be one of those who doubt. And so it's saying that the Gospels, that was written before, the Gospels, the Old Testament, that will let us know whether or not what was revealed to Allah is true. And then in Surah 547, it says, so let the people of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed in it. So if you have the Injil, the gospel, you can discern whether or not the Quran is true by whether it comports with the gospels. Mm-hmm. And the Quran contradicts the Gospels, therefore the Quran is false, and the Quran calls itself false. So you have an internal contradiction within your world, whereas we don't in ours. Get wrecked.
Yeah, she's just going so fast and throwing so much over it, Cliffe. But, again, we haven't heard his response, but I think he's going to have to slow things down and say, okay, let's take this one of your claims at a time here. Let's start here. And then now that we've talked about that, now we can get to this, because she's throwing kind of spaghetti at him right now. So this is spaghetti throwing it. It's just like, you just can't even, I'm not going to dignify every last thing you've said with an all-in-one response, because that's impossible. You've made 17,000 claims in 2 seconds.
Let's see if Cliffe does that and slows it down.
Say about this internal contradiction.
One of the basic principles of interpreting any book is you have to read in context. And
where have I heard that before?
Obviously, when you read John chapter 1, the main point is Jesus is God in human form. He begins. Ma'am, am I allowed to answer you or not?
But you're not making sense. You say the same
well,
thing.
Then why are you wasting your time standing here talking to me if I'm not making sense?
Look at all these people here who have questions. There's
Why? Then
too
why
many
don't you let me go on to
here
other
who
people? If I don't make sense, man, why do you waste your time?
Why am I going to let you misguide them with your misguidance?
Oh, I see.
Sit here and
so you have to sort of be a parasite
it.
who comes in here and just feeds off the people who are listening to me talk?
Absolutely, why not? You've already made a fool of yourself here anyways.
That's pretty sad. Why can't you just be open and honest?
Dang, he called that Islam a parasite.
And she's like, well, duh. That's crazy. Yeah, she's full of double standards, that's for sure.
And have an honest dialogue.
Yep, okay.
Thank you. John chapter 1. John begins with the words, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Crystal clearly, John 1:1 is stating the deity of Christ. The word there is Christ. The Greek word is logos. Obviously, by reading John 1, you know he's talking about Christ. Obviously, he's hearkening right back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, which says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. John is taking that and putting it in Greek. John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Nobody has seen God. I haven't seen God. You haven't seen God. But the claim of John is, and the claim of Jesus is, that he is God, revealing himself in human form. That's clearly, unmistakably what John 1 is teaching. And you don't have to have a PhD in New Testament. Just read it yourself, and you'll figure that out.
And it is both John. But what she's failing to understand is if Jesus is God, then he sees what the Father's doing. When it says no one has seen God at any time, it's saying no simple human. So in metaphysics,
clearly in context, no one save the Word has seen God.
Right. Because it specifically says the unique and one-of-a-kind God who is at the Father's side has made him known. So obviously, even in that simple verse itself, he's the exception.
Yeah. Again, I mean, Cliffe, I keep wanting to call him Keith. Cliffe, he did mention the context thing, which, I mean, that's no genius thing. We all understand that even in secular literature. Don't take secular writers out of context, but we will certainly do that with Bible authors all the time. It's a weird standard that we do. But I thought he overall was a fairly good response to her. Every one of us has miles to go in our Christology and our knowledge of the Trinity and all these things. But, I think he didn't fall into any sort of heresy. He made, crystal clear Jesus is truly divine. That's what John is teaching. He's getting the basic reality of what John 1 is about. And there could be far worse answers than what he gave, for sure. And he stood firm. And so I definitely commend him for that. I mean, it'd be tough to be in that setting with 20, however many 200 people there. And it's like, you could really box yourself in a corner if you say one thing wrong, especially when you're talking about things like the deity of Christ, the hypostatic union, the Trinity. I mean, like you make one wrong turn and it's like, wait, did I just say that Jesus is from Mars? I didn't mean that, but I used one word wrong and it just totally changed everything. So I got to give him some props for, doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, man, I give him a lot of props for going out there and being willing to talk to these college kids, bro. Like, it's something that I don't think I have the patience nor the intellect for, because there's guys who just know stuff that I don't. Yep. And I'll hear things sometimes that I'm like, wow, that's an argument that I cannot currently handle. I need a moment, and I will step back and I'll research and then I'll find the answer. But I'm just not, I don't think I'm smart enough to do it. Well, I mean, I don't know. I could probably handle most of them, but like there's somebody who's going to stump me. And I've never seen Cliffe stumped, just like I've never seen Charlie Kirk stumped. Yeah. Even though I've seen something that I disagreed with Charlie Kirk. I think he missed it on a thing or two, but very rarely.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, one time Cliffe's son, I think, kind of got stumped by an Orthodox student within recent times, but that's about all I've ever seen. But I've not seen too much of them, really. But I mean, it takes courage, and I commend that and pray for, a tenth of that courage. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and there is something to knowing what limitations God has either placed on you or at least allowed you to be in temporarily. So there's wisdom to realizing that, right now I'm not qualified for this. God gives, qualifications for elder and deacon in the New Testament, and it's not unspiritual for someone to say like, I'm not qualified to be a deacon or whatever it is. And so I
Yeah.
don't think it's necessarily fear if someone is like, well, yeah, I probably don't need to be preaching on a college campus. It might be wisdom. Maybe it's fear for some people, but it's possibly wisdom.
And I would
So
encourage people, you could preach on the college campus, but don't, if you think that you can do apologetics on the college campus, you better really be sharp.
that's true. Yeah. Because
Like,
questions can come from any vantage point of all places, from, the corners of the earth and world history. And it's like a million possible questions you could get.
yeah. Whereas if you're just preaching, you can just ignore that and keep preaching. And that's what I would encourage the average individual to do. Ignore the questions that you can't answer. The ones you can, answer it. The ones you can't, just be like, hey, man, I know a guy who probably could give you an answer. Look him up, but I'm just here to preach. And then maybe give him a track and keep preaching,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And the Lord uses us as imperfect, instruments anyway.
Yeah,
So because his word is perfect. So, we're never gonna have all the answers. But the Lord still used flawed men like Cliffe.
absolutely. And if you guys, maybe you're out there and you're interested in apologetics, I would encourage you to check out my book, The 7 Points of Calvinism, where I defend the doctrines of grace. And if, it'll give you ammo so that you can defend those doctrines yourself. You can check it out on Amazon.com. It's pretty cheap. That was the paperback. This is the hardcover version. Check it out, Amazon.com. Also, don't forget, this is brought to you by Snake Crusher Products. Online. Use promo code Twitchy25 for 25% off.
It's a great book, by the way, as someone who's read it. So I can vouch for it being a concise read that has depth to it, but it's not like you're reading a 700-page book or something. So
That's right.
it's a good one.
I
You're
appreciate
like,
it, man.
yeah, I agree with that.